Have you guys ever had to persuade someone into thinking the same way you do? Like, I know thinking the same way you do, but actually them agreeing with you, even though they know the other, like, perspective of it, they still believe your side of it. So the elaboration likely model by Richard Petty and Con Concipio. First, it sounds like a lot because it sounds like elaboration likely. It's a lot. So let's break it down. So we can have a better understanding of it. So elaboration means breaking down something. So elaboration means how much a person will think about certain arguments, and then likelihood is actually the event actually happening. The elaboration of an argument is actually thinking of every aspect of it, actually thinking of every aspect and not just going towards a certain opinion, but actually thinking of it. The ELM creates two different ways that people process communication. This theory is a dual theory because it thinks about how the attitudes are formed and how they're changed throughout the argument. It is important to understand this because it is based on a concept that our attitudes are important, since many attitudes do determine decisions and the way you act towards things. In 2004, this journal, Taking a Position, is a reinterpretation of elaboration likely model by Andrew Cook. He indicates that the ELMN was designed to portray and link together aparatically to support studies of attitudes, change, and persuasions. Basically, thinking that bringing everything together and making a decision on it, and actually thinking about it, and then thinking of different. So this is where our story in our textbooks comes in. Is where our mom, Rita Francisco, had to deal with two tragedies when it comes to drunk driving. First, her daughter was killed by her boyfriend, who decided to drink and drive, and then he plowed into a stone wall, killing her and him. And then her son was rammed into a wall by a 18-year-old driving in a 7-Eleven, and then permanently gave him a limb. So with Rita, she is on a mission to have these kids get off the road and not drink. And then what she also wants, she wants young adults to get arrested, and to have their license revoked if they are found with a more than a 0.02% on their alcohol blood level. With everything, when the creators of this likely model heard about Rita's story, they knew that she was asking all the great questions because she had the credibility, she had everything. But when it comes to kids actually wanting to listen to her, it kind of brings a lot, because it kind of takes away their freedom. But they know that most kids don't always drink, but she's just keeping an eye out that she doesn't want this to happen, that it could happen to anybody. And then what they found out about Rita's story is that they figured out two ways that people think when it comes to people trying to persuade them. They either take the central or the peripheral route. And these routes are definitely different. The central route brings in more of a elaborate process, because you're thinking about every perspective, there you go, of the persuasion, of like, why is she telling about this? Is she credible of it? And then the peripheral route is just going straight to it, like, no, this is not what I think, and not thinking about the different aspects of it. According to our textbook, the peripheral route the peripheral route brings more of a shortcut to it, just going straight to it. There is no type of thinking or qualities to it. This route relies more on certain cues to make decisions. In the textbook, the peripheral cues are reciprocation, which is more of like you owe me type of thing. Two, it's consistently, you've always done it that way, more of like why is things like this, it's always been like this. Social proof is that everyone's doing it, well, since everyone is doing drinking and driving, well, might as well me be doing it. Understand the elaboration likely model more effectively. It's important to understand the two routes of persuasion, which are the central route and the peripheral route. The central route is more of an audience members that you would want to have, because these people are more open to elaborating your perspective on their issue or their mission to portray. But in order to convince somebody on the central route, you have to more keep it on a personal level, because when you can put on a personal level, they can relate to you more, so they have a more of a connection, because since we dealt with that together, we can deal with this mission together. This leads into like consideration about arguments on different parts about the same argument or the different argument. And it's with these people are more likely to consider their opinion more carefully and actually think about it, because they have more content on the perspective. The peripheral route would not be the best route to go to, because this is not thinking of the other perspective that can be useful in a persuasion like this. In the 2006 article or journal, Online Shopping Interface Components, Relative Importance as Peripheral and Central Cues, the author Clyde Warren includes that according to the ELMA, which is the Elaborate Likely Model, the attitude change from central route is brought by the effortless issue relevant the conjugative activity. This says that the central route is the best way to go by, because this really depends on the audience, but this has to be the best way, because this route brings other perspectives, not to your head. It expands your thinking, your perspective on the issue that is being portrayed to you. Because many people, unlike Rita, if Rita were to go to any school and say that if she weren't to mention that her child were both affected by drunk driving, people would be more on the peripheral side, because they think, oh, this is just a woman who is just talking. This is just one of those mothers that's just that's being really extra. But once they bring in that she has been affected by this, it gives her more credibility on something that is. With this likely model, my last opinion on it would be that it really does bring out a lot of persuasion, and it can really help one persuade one another on their way of thinking.